Live from Lincoln Center in the heart of the Dallas Metroplex, this is Nip Talk, an honest and uncensored show about plastic surgery, health, beauty, and lifestyle. With your host, plastic surgeon Dr. Bruce Hermann. Now it's time to discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of the topics everyone is talking about. It's time for Nip Talk.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Nip Talk. I'm your host, plastic surgeon Dr. Bruce Hermann, and for all those watching us live and on recording, thank you very much. We do appreciate it. With me today again, and moving forward from here on out, is Sarah Bennett. She's going to be co-hosting with me going on. We're happy to have her. In the box, we got Travis. Travis, you in there?
Hey, I am.
Did you have a good week, Travis?
I did. I had a pretty good week. I can't complain. How about y'all? Y'all look like y'all are fresh-faced and ready to talk about some plastic surgery?
Yeah, I think we are. Yeah. No, it was a good week. Right now it's kind of a slow time for me surgery-wise. It always kind of dies at the end of summer, but I always find stuff to do. And did have one interesting thing. Did an interview for a radio station on Tuesday.
Fun.
Bloom Daddy, like I'm not familiar with them, but apparently they're pretty big up in like the Ohio area. And it was kind of cool. So I do these radio interviews from time to time. It's very kind of odd. So the first time I did one, they call you, right? And then you're talking about these topics. And then at the end, it just ends. Like they just hang up on you. I'm like, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
And so I got, you get used to doing that. But this time, actually, it's really cool. They called me back like a couple minutes later. And they're like, we really enjoyed that interview. And so I started talking to the host. And I think I might be back on that show.
That's great.
More regularly, yeah. Yeah, it was kind of fun.
One thing about radio people, they're not very friendly.
Really?
Sometimes they don't have the proper etiquette, I should say. Like it's not like, oh, okay, well thanks for calling. Have a great rest of your day. It's just
it's just like click.
Yeah,
it's over. But no, it was really cool. So yeah, I think we may do some more things with the Bloom Daddy show, which is it's just kind of neat to get to ask to be asked back.
Yeah, that is great.
What about you, Sarah? Did you do anything interesting this week or weekend?
I did. I took my daughter to the North Texas Rodeo. Fair and Rodeo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've been to
she
that.
loves riding those rides. It's kind of a tradition with me and her. So,
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we go to that probably every other year, and we didn't make it this year. We had some family in town, and which would have been good to actually take them, but we just had some other stuff going on. Did you catch any music while you're out there? They always have bands, right?
Yeah, they have bands like every night. The night that I went, I didn't have my daughter that night. She probably wouldn't have lasted that long there, but it was Davy Crockett.
Okay.
He's a really cool Texas
local
musician.
Texas.
Yeah.
That's the nice thing about Texas is you get these Texas artists, and it's almost like its own genre of music.
Yes, he definitely has
Pat
his
Green.
own.
I saw Robert O'Keefe. Which he's kind of old school Texas country,
Yes.
a couple weeks ago. Also kind of today was kind of adventure, right? Both of us getting in. Travis, did it rain on you coming in?
It did actually. It did.
Man.
The rain just came super fast. It came out of nowhere.
And they were pretty heavy too. And so it was kind of an adventure for me because right now my son's car is in the shop. And so I normally drive a pickup, but it's a really long pickup, so I don't want him driving that. So we kind of play musical cars, and my son's driving my wife's car, and my wife is driving my truck. And so I have this, there it is, the Beast. So that's a 1977 Chevy Blazer that I'm restoring. So I drove that in here into downtown Dallas in the rain. And for those who are not from Dallas,
It's pretty nice.
Oh, it is pretty cool, right? Yeah. But
I was about to say, it's a cool truck.
it is cool, but man, I'll tell you what, that first off, it's really high. So the thing is it goes back and forth on the road because it's so lifted. And then it's a standard transmission. It's got 45-year-old transmission. So it's like shifting an 18-wheeler. And then, so you're driving this thing in Dallas traffic where if you're not from Dallas, driving in Dallas is kind of like a Road Warrior Mad Max kind of situation. You got cars zipping in and out, and that thing only goes about 75 miles an hour. That's it. Well, that's slow on the freeway.
Yeah.
And so, it was a little bit of adventure coming in, but I made it. So, and I actually got a little bit more adventure coming up after the show. So, I am actually going on a motorcycle trip this weekend. To Colorado, and my daughter basically talked me into taking her. So my daughter rides with me all the time on my motorcycle, just around town, but this will be the first time we've ever taken a trip together.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, I mean, she's super excited, and I'm sure we'll be fine. Like we usually take back road, or I take back roads when I'm on trips, so we're not like zooming down the freeway or anything. But it is kind of a long trip. We're going all the way to Aspen, and then we're gonna hit Denver. And so her and I are both really into music, and 9 Inch Nails is playing at Red Rocks on Saturday night.
Nice.
Yeah, I've always wanted to see 9 Inch Nails. They're kind of an older band, industrial rock, but so we're gonna catch that. But yeah, it should be a good trip. I'm gonna post some pictures and stuff on Instagram. So
That's really nice.
yeah, you got any plans for this weekend?
Not
Working
too
or-
much. Just being with my little lady.
Your little girl? Yeah.
Yeah. Just
Is your
doing
girl's,
some-
how old is she?
She's 7.
7. Oh, she's a little bit younger. My daughter's
Yeah.
11, about to be 12. So
Yeah, she just turned 7.
yeah, it's a fun age. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Like the teenage years. I have an older son, and he's great. But like they do change going into the teenage years, and those years right before the teens are like really a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a fear she's going to hate me when she's a teenager.
Oh, I don't
But-
know about that.
I'm gonna try it to keep it civil.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the big struggle for parents, right? Keeping that relationship good in the teen
Yeah.
years. But Travis, do you have kids? I don't know if I've ever asked you that.
No, I do not. I
No?
don't have any. I'm team no kids over
Team no kids. All right.
Team
Yeah,
no
well,
kids.
something to look forward to.
Cool
moving
team.
forward. All right, so I want to move on to our first segment. And so the first segment is kind of, I kind of came up with this because of you, because we were talking about you have a big social media following
Yes.
on Insta and YouTube as well, and a lot of your followers are male.
Yeah.
Versus mine tend to be a little bit more female. And so it just got me thinking about like what are some of the things that I do in a surgery realm for men. And so, when you look at like plastic surgeries for men, like I think the top is, I think I wrote it. Oh yeah, eyelids are number 1, then like rhinoplasties, and then like neck lifts. And so I do some of that stuff. I don't do rhinoplasties anymore, but I do eyelids and I do neck lifts. But for me, because I'm a specialist in breast, the biggest thing that I do is gynecomastia repair. And so for those who don't know, gynecomastia is whenever men get a more feminine looking chest. And it was kind of funny because when I was thinking about this segment, I always say the word gynecomastia, and then did either of y'all heard that term before, gynecomastia?
I've not.
Ish. Okay.
I've not heard of it in that term.
So what I did is I got on the internet because I was like, geez, I don't even know like what the layman's term for that is, and I thought there'd be some really nice term. No, it's man boobs.
Right.
Yeah, man boobs is like the layman's term because I type in gynecomastia, a common name, and the first thing that pops up, and I actually took a picture of it, is from Howard Stern had a man boob contest on his show, and I was like, oh my gosh. Unfortunately, I don't have like a nice common term for gynecomastia, but I will say that it is something that is very common with men, and I think it's more common than people think, because I think
Yeah.
a lot of men don't necessarily tell people about it or seek treatment for it. And I remember the first time I saw it, actually I wasn't even a plastic surgeon. I was a freshman in high school. I'm in the football locker room, and some older guy takes off his shirt, and I was like, whoa, wait, this doesn't look right. And it's like, then it's weird because like you can't stop looking at it, right? And then you feel bad about it. Like it was a whole thing, and I felt bad for the kid because like I'm not that guy that gives people grief about stuff. A lot of the kids would give him grief about
Yeah.
it, and so. So anyway, when I got into plastic surgery, I learned more about it, and there actually is ways to treat that. So a little bit about it. It has kind of like a bimodal like thing of when it pops up. Like kids get it, right? Because it's hormone based. We as men have estrogen,
Yes,
just
yeah.
like you do, and you have testosterone just like we do. But our percentage of that vary based on our sex, right? And so what basically happens is if your estrogen levels in the men get a little bit too high, or if your tissues are a little bit more sensitive to that, you can actually start to get symptoms of having a more feminine chest. And so there's a couple ways that can present, and you saw the Howard Stern guys, and they really had kind of like feminine looking chests. And it can be like that kind of fatty appearance that you see here in this little infographic. And it also can be like the fibrous tissue behind the nipple areola. Women are very, known that during their cycle, like they can, get changes in their breast. And so you can get that with men where you get these kind of hard lumps behind the areola, and it can actually be painful. So it's not just necessarily like the look of it, but it also, can be uncomfortable. And plus that, there's the other symptoms that go along with it. People get self-conscious, it's like it's kind of one of those things where people will want to take off their shirt, or they just they get too anxious about it, and it can really kind of affect their life. And so there are other causes for it too. I mean, a lot of times it purely is hormonal. Like, you know, I see it very commonly with, you know, teenagers, early 20s, and you see it again in the later years when men's testosterone levels start to drop. But there are some certain drugs that can cause it, like even some prescription drugs. And so another reason why as men get older that they can, you know, potentially get this. You know, it's a bad thing about prescription drugs, right? I mean, you know, you see all these ads for drugs on the TV. I mean, they all have these side effects, right? It's kind of funny when you see the commercials, and I don't know if you like, if you ever listened to them, I kind of like tune out, but like at the end it says, this can cause death, like seizures, like, and then, you know, I guess they should add man boobs to someone, but like, you know, there's high blood pressure, heart medications, thyroid, like all that stuff can cause it. And then even some recreational drugs too. Yeah. So.
It's intense.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And there's kind of a very low incidence of actually be caused by tumors, you know. I remember when I was learning about gynecomastia in med school and then in surgery, they're like, oh yeah, you got to make sure that, you know, they don't have tumors. And so like the first few patients I saw in my office, I'll be like, asking them all these questions, you know, do you know any masses or anything? But I found that to be very rare. You know, mostly it's just hormonal issues. You know, I mean, it's very common. I think I read like up to a third of men get it at some point in their lives. So
can that ever be treated with drugs?
So that's a good question. So when you go onto the treatment, you know, as to like what to do, like there's not really like a pill for gynecomastia. Yeah. You know, there's kind of the opposite. Like say, you know, a guy goes to the doctor and he starts a new, you know, blood pressure medication. Well, like a month later he notices that like starting to, you know, have some changes. You could take away a drug, right? Okay. You go to your doctor and say, hey, I mean, it'd be an awkward conversation, right? I think your pills are like giving me man boobs, but it does happen, right? Yeah. And so, you know, for those out there who have it, you know, one thing to kind of consider is, you know, have you had any changes to any medications? Because there are a lot of medications that, anything that can potentially affect your hormones. Yeah. But if that's not a possibility, or if it's not due to medications, then thankfully surgery is very, very effective at treating this. Yeah. You know, I do kind of tailor the surgeries based on like what each individual patient, you know, has going on. For example, like some patients will just get like that hard area there, and maybe they don't have like necessarily the more feminine appearance, but they get this kind of painful lump. And you just go in and you take that out, and it kind of solves your problem. Where it gets a little bit more, I don't want to say challenging, because I don't feel like any of these are really that hard of surgery, but where it becomes a little bit more where you got to plan it out is like when it starts to get larger, and then, you know, get that really kind of female breast look, even to the point that you start to get the sag. Yeah. And then you have to like go in, you have to remove that fat tissue, and then if you have too much skin, you got to take care of that, right? Because you don't want to just have like, you know, it be flat and flabby. You want to make it look good. So sometimes I'll suck out that fat, and then I'll take up some of the skin and do almost like a breast lift, like I would do for a woman. Yeah. And so, but I'll tell you, I do one of these surgeries probably every couple months, which doesn't sound like a lot, right? You know, you're doing 5 to 10 a year maybe, but I mean, that's, I don't know. I don't know if there's a lot of other plastic surgeons doing more. Like I said, there's not a lot of people that seek it out, which is kind of sad because it is pretty easy to fix.
I think it's just like more taboo for men to be interested in like
like and I know
superficial stuff.
And I'll tell you, I think guys, I don't know, maybe Travis can weigh in on this. I think guys are a lot less prone to go to the doctor. Like, yeah. I don't know. I feel like women are more responsible than men. You know, like there's something wrong with women. They're like, oh, I probably should get this checked out. Men are like, yeah, I'm fine. I don't know. What do you think, Charles? Do you go to the doctor?
Speaking as a man for men, I think men are more responsible than women.
What?
No, I'm joking.
Oh, okay. I was like, okay, we're about to open a can of worms here.
I was like, that's a lie.
Yeah, I have to put up at least a good front though. Like it has to be a good front. But no, I think you are 100% right. I think you hit the nail on the head with it. I think women are just more. Like it's more common for them to worry about their health and have like preventative and like just checkups and stuff like that. Yeah. And men are just like, yeah, it'll heal on its own.
Yeah, rub some dirt in it.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, and also too, I think that like in the realm of like fixing things with your body, like I know women talk about stuff, and some women are like kind of secretive, you know, like they'll go and have something done and they won't say anything. Yeah. But like, I mean, I know a lot of women like, well, they'll talk to their friends about it, right? They'll be like, oh, I'm gonna go have this thing done, because a lot of times their friends have had stuff done too. But like, I don't know, like me and my buddies sitting around drinking beer, it's like, hey, what do you guys think I should do about my man boobs, right? Like,
yeah, I think it's just more socially acceptable for girls to do stuff like that, and that's.
Yeah. But if there's one thing I could say for people, out there, like if that's a problem for you, or if someone has that problem, like it is pretty easy to fix that. I mean,
Yeah.
I was just thinking about all the surgeries I've done, to repair that. I would say like 100% of the people that have had it done have been satisfied, and I think that really I can't think of a single complication I've had with anybody. Like it's just a pretty straightforward thing to fix. Obviously, if it's not a bother for you, then please, by all means, don't go out and have surgery for no reason. But if it does bother you, like it's something that can be taken care of. So
yeah, seems totally worth it for some
self-esteem. I'm one of those people too. Like I get kind of fixated on stuff, and so thankfully I haven't caught the man boobs yet. But I mean, I'm still middle-aged. Maybe it might be coming on. I don't know. But if it does happen, like I'd probably freak out about it, right?
Right.
I'd probably want to get it fixed. But all right, well, it's a good talk. All right, so the next topic. This is kind of like a noteworthy news thing. So. We were kind of talking about this before the show. I don't know if you guys remember. Do you remember that girl, Caitlin Armstrong? She was in the news, especially around here in Texas. She basically was dating some guy, and then like they broke up, and then this new girl started dating the guy, and the new girl, her name was Mariah Wilson. Like she was a professional cyclist, and so Caitlin Armstrong ended up killing her, like shooting her. And then Caitlin basically fled the country, and there was this thing because they couldn't find her. Like I remember when this was going on because it was in Texas. I think it happened in Austin, so that's not that far from us. And I remember hearing about it. So the girl was like on the lam for like a month and a half, and come to find out that she basically sold her car. She took that money. She flew to Costa Rica, and then she ended up getting plastic surgery to try to change her identity.
She's hardcore.
Man, that is pretty hardcore, right? Like a lot of people like don't go to that, that level. And so I think, Travis, I brought a picture. Yeah, here she is. So that's her on the left. And, you can kind of see on the right, she changed her hair color a little bit. And so
definitely got a nose job.
Nose job, right. Exactly right. That's exactly what she did. Like her nose is very, very different. Mm-hmm. And so, I'm not sure that I would have noticed that is the same girl. If you look really hard, it's like, okay, the eye shape is very similar. Forehead looks the same, cheeks are kind of the same, jawline and all that. And so she ended up getting caught. After I guess 45 days, someone kind of picked her out, and she got picked up. But it just kind of got me thinking about like that whole concept of like can you truly change your identity with surgery? And it's kind of an interesting topic. Like, did you ever watch that show? Well, either one of you guys, Narcos.
Yes, I
okay.
have.
Travis, you ever watch that show, Narcos?
I caught like bits and pieces of it. I wasn't really big into it.
Yeah, I kind of like those shows, like the historical, like drama shows. I kind of eat them up, and so I actually watched those. And so there was actually like a big cartel guy, Amado Fuentes, I think was his name. He was on the show. Remember, he was the pilot guy.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was like the pilot, and then and these are all true stories, right? The Narcos,
right.
For the most part. I'm sure they fictionalized it a little bit, but
right.
He ended up rising up through the ranks, and he kind of became like a boss after a while. And then I think he got like a lot of heat because everyone knew who he was. And so, he went to have plastic surgery to change his identity, and he died in surgery. And, then there was the question of like, did the surgeons kill him, like that? But those guys, the surgeons ended up getting axed. Like, basically everyone died. But so, I was just doing a little digging, I always like to like look up, stuff when we start talking about topics. And so I was on this plastic surgery webpage for some other plastic surgeon, and they'd written like this little blog excerpt. It's like, well, really, this is the thing of movies. You can't really do this. And I was like, I don't know. I really disagree with that. Like, I think that if somebody really was motivated, and if they could find someone willing to do it,
and had enough time to like do all these procedures.
Well, that's
it's like, could you do like everything you needed to do to make you like completely unrecognizable in one?
I think you could.
thing?
Like, now I'm not saying that this is safe. So please, by all means, people out there, don't
go do it.
Don't go do this. But like, realistically, yeah, you could. When I think about like doing mommy makeovers and stuff, we put people under anesthesia for 7 or 8 hours, very commonly. And nowadays that's very safe to do because, the anesthesia these days is extremely safe, and especially for patients who are healthier, right? Like if somebody was really sick, they had heart disease or like, COPD from smoking 5 packs of cigarettes a day for 50 years. Yeah, put them under anesthesia for a long time would be potentially harmful to them. But, for like a young, healthy person like yourself or me, you could put them under anesthesia for quite a bit of time. So I was just kind of thinking, like, just for fun, like, Well, one, I don't know. If you guys suddenly were on the lam, would you guys do this? Like, I mean, I guess it really depended on like, like how dire is the situation, right? I mean, like, I guess I don't know. Like,
I can't say that I would get like plastic surgery if I was on the lam. I probably I would take my chances hiding out. I have an issue with like knives and needles.
oh, really?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to catch you in my office anytime soon?
Probably not.
Well, you can come up and visit. We'll just hang out.
Oh, for sure. I got you. For sure. I'm there.
I don't know, I think about it, like, and obviously, like, we're all kind of like, good law-abiding citizens, but I mean, like, what if something happened, right? Like, something crazy and like you had to go.
or just somebody was after you.
Yeah, maybe somebody's after
But
you.
you didn't do anything wrong.
Right, like, it could be like, a good plot for a movie. But, so I started thinking about, okay, so if I was going to change someone's identity, right, how would you go about it? Well, there's a lot you could do. Let's start with your hair. So that girl changed her hair, which I think is very smart. I mean, I would have done it more drastic. Like, it was kind of the same length and she did color it. I probably would crop it off, like go like something, get like the mom cut, go from the long to the mom cut. But there's also things you could do. There's certain drugs you can take, which can increase your hair. There's certain drugs you could potentially take to make yourself lose your hair. People take anabolic steroids and really boost their testosterone. And women could do this too. Like you could literally like cause yourself to like, go bald.
Yeah.
Now I know that's hardcore, but I mean, if we're on the lam, right? Like you've got to start like thinking outside the box. Then you think about your forehead. If you have wrinkles, you could get Botox. Like there's brow lift surgery where you could kind of eliminate that altogether, which we don't really do brow lifts anymore, but in this fictional scenario, maybe we could. Then your eyes, like remember Travis, we did the episode about the cat eyes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we weren't here for that one. So the cat eyes is kind of a thing that was a trend for a while, where people were like basically making their eyes, if they were more circular, more to like more almond shaped.
Right.
And you know what, Dr. Herman, I changed my mind. I would, if I'm going on the lam, I think I would do the plastic surgery.
Yeah.
I would want them to make me look like Idris Elba or somebody like that. I need the Idris Elba package.
I mean, if you're gonna have surgery, man, you might as well come out looking really good. Although would that draw more attention to you? Then everybody would be like,
no, because then everybody would be like, oh, you're that famous guy, and you're like, no, that's not me. So they'll just be so obsessed with the fact that you might be a celebrity, and then they'll just forget about it.
Thanks.
That's right. Yeah, that's true. Right? They're definitely not going to think the celebrity is the one wanted for whatever it is we did.
Exactly.
But yeah, you could change the shape of your eye. Then nose. I think that girl. The one thing that makes that girl look really different in that picture is she really changed her nose.
Yeah.
And I would say that honestly, I don't really prefer the way her nose looks, but I mean, at the end of the day, like, I mean, it does look a lot different, and that is one of the key features of the face, which makes you. I would say eye shape is big, nose, which you could change with like rhinoplasty. Then your cheeks, like, that girl didn't have like really prominent cheeks. She could do things like fat grafting or fillers to like change that.
I would have gotten colored contacts too.
Ooh, that's a good one, right? Because they always put like the eye color on those sheets, right? It's like blonde hair, green eyes.
Yeah, I would have like changed my hair, like bleach blonde, got blue contacts.
Yeah, like she like lip fillers, and like if you want to go hardcore, you can start to change the shape of your face with like implants. Like you can get like, so for example, like that girl had a pretty wide jaw. She could have like, there are surgeries to reduce your jawline. She could have done things like a chin implant. Like there's a lot she could have done. I mean, maybe she ran out of money. Like I think
probably she only sold her car, right?
Yeah, right. Because I was starting to, I was looking at all these things that potentially like I could do. Because I'm like, okay, in this imaginative scenario, somebody comes to me and says, all right, I'll give you, $1 million to like whatever. It's like, okay, could I do all this in one day? I think I could. You're talking about like, changing your eyelids, changing your eye shape, potentially implants, jaw, chin, nose job. Yeah, you could do it. I mean, it'd be a full day, but it's doable. And I started thinking, okay, if you were gonna like go to somebody and have all this done, how much would it cost? Because I wouldn't just do it for like the purchase price, right? Because obviously this person is like
that's
hot.
probably what she wasted all of her money on, is because of the discretion.
Yes, right? Because you don't want anybody to say anything. But yeah, I think to do all that, you'd be probably looking at like $25,000 to $40,000 if you're gonna have that many surgeries. So she needed to sell more than just her car.
I was about to say, that's got to be a pretty like expensive car. Like I couldn't sell my Honda, you know what I'm saying, and try to get the full package plastic surgery. I wouldn't be able to do it.
It makes you wonder though, like, are there people out there that have actually done this and got away with it? Because you think, I'm kind of like a history and crime buff, and you hear of these people that like did things and never found them. I mean, is it because they went and had plastic surgery? Like, I bet there's people out there, right, that have done that.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely people out there that are wanted and never been found.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they've had plastic surgery. I don't know. Like, it's very interesting.
I mean, people like they don't change their identity, but they definitely look completely different than who they were.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could. Well, yeah. First thing, I guess,
Yeah.
change your face, but then you can get fake identities. Like,
Yeah.
I wonder if the government. You never heard of the Witness Protection Program? Do you think they ever do surgery on people to change them?
I don't know.
That would be a good gig, actually. Because I think about like, if somebody came to you and wanted to do that, like, there's probably somebody who would probably kill you to keep you quiet. But like, if you worked for the government, you could potentially change people's identity for witness protection.
Undercover stuff too.
Right, yeah, because the government's not going to, off you for changing someone's identity.
So we have a guest in the booth, Rebecca. She actually brought up a good point. She said like Face Off, like the movie Face Off.
Well, yeah, so face transplant, I mean, that's another thing. I mean, of course, I know that'd be trickier because, if you do face transplant, then you got to take all these drugs, I mean, I guess you could do it, but it'd be easier to track you, because if somebody had known you did it, then all they have to do is search, like, for where those prescriptions, because those drugs are not common.
Jeez.
So I'm thinking, man, like, oh, that's not a bad idea, but, like, that does leave a little bit of a trail,
That's
and if you don't want to get
insane.
caught, like, I mean, you got to think about these things.
Yeah.
It's the little things that get you.
Yeah. It's crazy what you can do whenever you're put in
Desperate.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're desperate, right? All right, so moving on. We're gonna do the Nip Tuck 911, and this is something. Actually, you brought this up too, so I really appreciate like you bringing all these good topics up. We were Travis. We were talking about photoshopping of celebrities. So I didn't really know that this was a big thing. I mean, I guess I'm just naive. I just figured that they already look good. Like why?
Yeah.
Why would you make
yeah.
them look even better? But apparently that's a pretty common thing. And I started like doing some research on it. There was basically an endless supply of these, befores and afters of, or not befores and afters, but basically pictures that you could see. Yeah, here, get a load of this. This one is like ridiculous. This one's pretty old. This is from around 1990. This is Oprah's head, and they completely used someone else's body. Like they basically put her head on some model's body and then put that.
So this is a real picture. Like this was a real magazine cover and TV guide.
Yes.
Like, I did not know that. I thought this was like some Photoshop that somebody did. Like just
no, that was like a real. That was like a real episode.
I wonder if back then that they even asked for her permission to do that.
So that's the funny
like how
thing.
Insulting.
Right.
I know, right? No, I think they didn't because like even in today's time, now that one's like completely ludicrous where they basically put her face on someone else's body, but in today's times where they're using true Photoshop, to change things, like a lot of times they're not like asking the people. So this is Kelly Clarkson, and so I've seen her before. She's a great singer, but she's not necessarily like a super petite gal. And so that picture is from 2009, and that picture of her on the right is from the same exact time frame. Those pictures were taken basically like in a month of each other. And so you look at that, and it's like, I mean, it's obvious. I mean, it doesn't even necessarily look like her.
Right.
And so. And here's this guy. So this guy, his name is Andy Roddick. You know him?
Yeah.
Oh,
he's a tennis player, right? Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm not really. I used to watch tennis back in the days of Anna Kournikova. Like, I mean, everyone loved her, but I kind of fallen off a little bit. But look at that guy's arms. He looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like in the picture there. And then you look at his like regular arm size, which he's not like a beanpole or anything, but that's obviously. I mean, it almost looks like they did the same thing that they put. And he was like, I remember he
just looks misshapen in the magazine. He looks like a weird shape.
Yeah, it just looks kind of ridiculous, doesn't it? Like I don't know. All right, so this is a model. Her name is Zendaya. Yeah, you know her? Mm-hmm. Man, you're so good.
And she is super petite, and then they did something to her legs, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, you picked it out immediately. So the real picture is the right, which she looks very, very thin to start with, but they made her even skinnier.
It's ridiculous.
I don't know. And this was a few years back, because nowadays, like, I can't remember, let's see, I was trying to remember when that year was from. I think that was like early teens, because nowadays they're getting away from that.
A lot of celebrities are like, pride themselves on like, no, like you do not Photoshop my stuff.
I think the problem is that like they signed these like agreements that the magazine or the media can touch up the picture.
Yeah, at their discretion.
At their discretion, right? Which could mean I mean, I guess anything, like, and it's like the Wild West. They can like completely change their, whole appearance. I mean,
Wild.
The guy, that tennis player, I mean, he looks totally different. So this one's not too bad. So this is Katy Perry, and she was in Rolling Stone. So the one on the left is the actual picture. And so, I mean, I don't know, it may be hard to tell in that. It looks a lot, when I pulled it up, like
Her chest looks bigger.
like they changed her skin a lot, like they took away a lot of moles, and like you look on the right picture, like her leg is a lot skinnier. Like they shaved off like her
Some
thigh.
highlighting.
Yeah, that one's not
stuff.
terrible. I don't know.
Yeah.
My biggest problem in all this is like it just makes these unrealistic expectations for people. I mean, these people are already like good looking. People already look up to them, and it's like they make these just ridiculous like body image expectations for people, which I think has a negative effect on the average person looking at it.
Yeah, and then on top of that, I bet most of those people have had like procedures done, and then they get like the picture back, and they're like, what? Like I need to do that too.
I know, right? These people are already like busting themselves to try to look as good as they can, and then and then some company comes along and they alter it even more. Like so it's like, I don't know, it's like not good for the celebrities, it's not good for like the people looking. So this is Demi Moore. I didn't realize Demi Moore had gotten that skinny. Like I almost wondered if they photoshopped her entire body, but like
super tiny.
She looks really thin right there, right? Like it just almost doesn't look like her to me. And so like the biggest thing, and I don't know if you can see that up there on the screen, Sarah or Travis, like you look at her hip, and like her hip is like a whole inch inside of her outer thigh. Like it's just obvious that they constricted her hips in that picture.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah, you can definitely see it.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't look like real almost.
Yeah.
So the next one is actually a celebrity which photoshopped her own picture. Now this one's a little subtle. So that's Beyonce, obviously, and what she basically did is she increased the space between her thighs using Photoshop. But when she did that, look at the step behind her thighs. Like you look at the step on either side of her lateral thigh.
It doesn't line up.
No, it doesn't line up. Like it's like a tip off that she basically used something to expand that space to like cut off part of her thighs, which is crazy. I mean, Beyonce's like, she's famous. She's like great looking. Like, I don't know, maybe her people did that. Like I think that was actually, I don't think it was on her social media. I think that was on her actual like webpage. That I guess all the celebrities have their own webpage. And so this one cracks me up. So
the Kardashians are so famous for doing
all that stuff.
Photoshops,
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what we were talking about. So this is Kris Jenner and Gordon Ramsay, who I love Gordon Ramsay, by the way. He's hilarious. So what's funny about this one is I think the picture on the left is what Gordon Ramsay posted on his like social media. So like they look like themselves. They look like normal people. And then the one on the right, like, I mean, it looks like they took the airbrush to it. Like Gordon Ramsay lost all his wrinkles. Like her face, looks like her skin looks like flawless. And I just found
that definitely looks like an Instagram filter or something for
sure.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah.
It's almost like they even like airbrushed the book.
Yeah.
Like, not only are we going to airbrush your face, we're going to airbrush your face on the book.
That's probably already airbrushed.
The book is not even safe at this point. Like they airbrushed the book. It looked like.
But I did think that one was kind of comical because like I think he posted just some the picture on his, and it's like the real picture because he's like, I'm Gordon Ramsay, the matter what I look like, and then she isn't this one ridiculous? Oh my God, that's an actual ad, a Ralph Lauren ad. Like so this isn't like somebody posting that on, making this, like that's actually an ad for Ralph Lauren. Look at that. That's the same person.
She looks like a Tim Burton character.
She looks, who was that guy's name? The Scarecrow guy?
Is it Christmas?
Night Before Christmas.
Yeah,
I think
Skeleton, Mr. Skeleton?
Yeah.
I can't remember. I'm so bad.
I can't remember
My kids are
either.
probably home like,
Gosh.
Oh, Dad, you're such an embarrassment.
That movie used to scare me too when I was a kid.
Jack Skeleton.
Rebecca just gave us the answers.
Hey, thank you. Rebecca, we're going to make you part of the show and keep us in line here. But yeah, I don't have a problem, I guess, with like little like minor stuff, like if they want to make the skin brighter or whatever. But like I don't know, I just don't think it's right when they morph the bodies, and not really because I feel like I'm getting tricked, but like I as a plastic surgeon, and having people come in who really have maybe unrealistic expectations of their own bodies. Like, I think that, the media has played a part in that. And so,
For sure.
That's potentially harmful to people. And, part of my job when people come in is making sure that they have realistic expectations, that they're like not overly critical of themselves,
Yeah.
Because I think that people can get taken advantage of, as I've always said, I'm one of the biggest critics of my specialty. And, there are people out there who, will kind of feed into that and, find somebody that they can profit off that. And
Right.
so, I don't know. I just hate for people to get taken advantage of or feel like that, they're not worthy because they are trying to live up to some fake, picture on a magazine cover.
Yeah, because it's not real.
It's not even real, right? But the average people don't know. Heck, I'm in the business and I didn't realize this was that big of a deal. Like when you mentioned, I was like, wow, they really photoshopping magazines these days?
I got the idea from TikTok.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
It
was just this guy. I don't know what his his theme of his TikTok was or like what it is for his profile, but he was just talking about how celebrities have been like just completely
misrepresenting themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, and after doing some digging, like, yeah, they are doing that themselves, but sometimes it is like the media companies, Sometimes, I don't know why they do it. Like, I mean, I would think that they would catch a lot of flack. Nowadays, people are like really on top of this stuff. Like, I think, 10 or 15 years ago, you could probably get away with it, but nowadays, like, everyone's a sleuth. And, they figure stuff out. It's funny, like, talking about, like, people being sleuths. I saw this thing on Reddit. You ever get on Reddit?
Yes.
So I saw this thing on Reddit, and, like, it was, I follow these Reddit pages, and one of my followers is, like, old school cool. And it's, like, basically people posting pictures of, like, their mom or their grandparents, like, back in the day. And so this guy posted this picture of his mom. And so his mom's, like, I guess on a hike, and there's, like, a mountain and a lake in this little town. And basically it said, oh, this is my mom in like 1980. And by the way, does anyone know where this is, right? And it's literally just like a picture of, I mean, there was like some definition. There was a mountain and you could see a lake. Like within, I think, a couple of hours, like somebody geolocated that exact location.
Wow.
Isn't that wild? Like, I guess like they use like Google Earth or something. Like it kind of blew my mind. And then I get kind of, you fall down the rabbit hole of Reddit. I don't know if you ever use it, but like you start like going through all the comments and like, yeah, basically they were using like the mountain and the earth and then putting in some program to like to pull up possible locations, and they pull up like the area on a map, and they basically from a picture figured out where this was.
Wow.
It's pretty wild. Like that's like CIA stuff, right?
Right.
It's like probably what they do to like find terrorists or something. I don't know. But anyway, it was pretty good. But good conversation.
Yeah.
So Travis, we got any questions today?
We do.
We're kind of early. Like we usually don't film this early, so I'm afraid people are they up and at 'em or what?
Oh yeah, of course. We have Mark. He asked, does insurance cover what is it?
Gynecomastia surgery?
Yeah, gynecomastia.
Oh, that's
surgery.
a good question. The answer to that is today, no. And I mean, that's a whole nother conversation that really kind of annoys me. As a plastic surgeon, there are a lot of surgeries I do that do kind of border that medical necessity versus cosmetic. The most classic one being breast reduction surgery. I used to do tons of breast reduction surgery through insurance, and it's just gotten harder and harder to cover because the insurance companies know that to a certain degree, it does help make people feel better if they have neck pain, shoulder pain, back pain, but it also improves the look of it. So a lot of people want to do it. And so, over the years, it's basically gotten impossible to cover that. And so gynecomastia is very similar in that, like when I first started, practice 12 years ago, I occasionally could get gynecomastia covered by insurance. You had to fight for it a little bit, show that it was causing distress, or maybe they had some pain, or whatever.
Yeah, because you were talking about the painful lumps and stuff.
Yeah, and that is a part of it. Like that's not like for every patient, but there definitely is some like potential for discomfort. But yeah, it's gotten really hard to get it covered. Like I guess like the only way you could potentially get it covered is if you had a very distinct painful mass, you could code it as like being a lesion, and you might. But like if it's the fatty part, no, they won't cover that. Which
that's real interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame because like I feel like if something that you have wrong with you is causing you like a lot of emotional distress, that I don't know, like you have insurance for a reason, right? It's like I feel like some of that stuff should be covered, but no one asked me. Like the insurance companies don't ask me like what should be covered and not covered. But
well, so we have another question. This one kind of goes back to The criminal, question that you had earlier.
Criminal?
Yeah, the criminal question. It says, Dr. Hermann, would you ever change someone's identity?
I probably would not. Probably wouldn't. Well, there's a couple reasons. One, like the whole thought of okay, why is this person changing their identity, right? Like, are they gonna want me to, not tell anyone? They're gonna off me. But two, nowadays I'm a breast and body specialist. I don't do nose jobs anymore. I mean, I could do those things, but I don't know. At this point, I just kind of do what I like to do. And so, as interesting as that would be, and as a challenge it would be, we could do, Charles, we could do the elf ears. Remember the elf ear conversation we had?
You know what? It's so funny. I have conversations outside of work about the elf ears. I never heard of it before the show.
So other people are talking about the elf ears.
Man, I talk about it to other people. I'm like,
oh, really?
Do you know that they are getting elf ears? This is a real thing. That's so amazing to me.
We did. I don't know if you saw the thing on. I know you're on social media a lot. Did you see about the thing where Elon Musk was talking to Grimes, and Grimes was asking people if any of her followers had done the elf ear modification? Literally.
I mean, I know that's popular to do within a certain niche groups.
So, and it was funny when we were talking about that. I was trying to find a surgeon in the United States that advertised it, and I couldn't find one. And I was like, well, maybe I should be the elf ear surgeon.
The elf ear expert.
But no, I mean, going back, sorry, I kind of got in the weeds there. I probably wouldn't change someone's identity. The whole thing sounds seedy.
If somebody came to your office and was like, I want to completely redo what my face looks like, would you be like, why?
Yeah, why?
Or would you be like, all right, as long as you can pay for it, let's go.
Yeah, I don't know. I would start probably asking questions I don't know, why does that person want to do, who's following this person that may find me at the end of the trail? Yeah, I don't know. I probably wouldn't do it. Now, I don't know, maybe for the government though, I feel like doing it for the government would be safer.
Well, that would probably be really interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if that happens. I'm gonna do some more digging.
Yeah, if a CIA agent got their
a cover blown.
Yeah, cover blown. They still needed to operate.
Yes.
Sure.
Well, don't they do that in Mission Impossible? No, they do the face stuff.
Well, have you ever seen Get Smart with Steve Carell?
Oh yeah. You know how
his partner goes through plastic surgery to keep her because her cover got blown, and she's this beautiful blonde-headed girl, and then she turns into that her other character, but.
Oh right, it was is it Anne Hathaway? Mm-hmm. I love her. One of my favorite movies, and I'm almost embarrassed to say, is, did you ever see The Devil Wears Prada?
Yes.
I love that movie.
It's a good movie.
I like the fashion stuff in it,
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured.
Well, me too.
Yeah, I know you figured that. I love Anne Hathaway.
All
right, we got any more? Is that it?
Yeah, our last question is from John.
Okay.
He says, how expensive is hair loss surgery?
Oh, that's probably from last. Wait, was that last episode we were talking about? Yeah, last episode we were talking about hair loss. Yeah. Wow, that's a good question. I don't do the hair loss surgeries anymore. I did a few of them in training. I would think that each individual session wouldn't be that expensive. You think about what is the cost for surgeon fee, anesthesia, all that. I mean, something like that would probably run you, I would guess somewhere in the range of $5,000. But the problem is that you can't do it all at once. You can't because what they do is you basically take a strip of hair here, you slice it into little pots, and you plug it in at the top. But in order to do that, you got to take out a piece, close it, then that's all got to stretch back out, and then you can't take all of it at once. So you're looking at multiple surgeries. So man, I would say you're probably looking at 20 or 30 grand, I would guess, to do an entire head.
How long would that take? A year or 6 months?
Excuse me, sorry. Yeah, it probably would take probably a year, because I usually do surgeries I usually make people wait 3 months, make sure everything's healed, so. Yeah, it'd probably take you a year or longer. But I guess if you're young, you got your whole life, moving forward. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good question. I don't have an exact, but it would be not cheap.
No.
Not cheap, but. All right, I think, is that all the time we have today, Travis?
That is all. That is it.
All right, I think it's some good topics today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sarah, I'm really glad that you'll be joining me moving forward.
Yeah, me too.
We'll have to do some more lifestyle and fashion stuff.
Yeah.
I love that stuff too. We tend to get really into the health and the surgery stuff, but we'll have to get some more social stuff going. Yeah. We'll brainstorm.
Yeah, we can talk about fall trends, fall fashion trends.
Let's do it. I would love to do that. I do love that. It kind of goes along with being a plastic surgeon, right? I'm kind of more into the artsy stuff. And stuff. But anyway, everyone, thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you guys next week, and have a good week. Take care.